Black bow, black uniform.
Yeah.
Black uniform. Just TT rhinestone.
So sad it's pathetic. That
And like call it onyx or something.
pouring me in that powder. I don't even know what to do with myself.
Do you think they like take that whole blackout thing? Take the whole like blackout.
Yes.
Like,
To the next level.
yes.
Black shoes.
No, I hate black shoes.
I know.
And I hate black socks.
That's why I said that.
I was just telling them, during the break, I was supposed to write down all of the stunts. All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and get started. So we have 2 stunt classes that we're going to be doing for y'all. This first one is going to be, it's listed I think as elite stunts. Most of them will be above average for sure. But we're going to kind of jump around and just use, I'm going to show you all some different techniques. And within those techniques, we'll kind of show you a progression of skills. All right, so we're not going to, obviously we don't have time to show you everything, but we're going to try to jump around and show you techniques for different styles of stunting. And then from there, when you go back home, you can modify those to whatever your team does, number of kids you have, their overall ability level, etc. Okay? The next class it's listed as intermediate stunts, and basically it will probably be lower level stuff, but we're going to do a lot of stuff on how to clean up all your stunts. So we're going to talk a lot about technique in that class. This class will be we'll still do technique, but I'm going to try to show as much as possible. The next class will really break down how to clean up stuff, what you should be looking for with bases, tops, etc. Okay? If you have any questions, if there's a certain stunt you want to see, within reason, I will let them wing it. Okay? This is not a stunt group that travels around together. So, depending on what you ask for, we'll see if they know it, if they're comfortable with it, whatever. Also, if you want to see something again, make sure you just ask me. I can stand up here and talk all day. They're the ones that have to physically do it. So I think we're good. We're good on that part. Although I do get exhausted sometimes just from talking. I do get winded. Is that bad? Should I be in better shape? Take this off. All right. So here we go. So first of all, we're going to start out with just some basic stunting stuff. We're going to start out with some body positions, ground up technique, and then we're going to move into single base stuff. Then we're going to do some inverted stuff. Then we're going to be doing some release stuff. And I also am going to show you a couple of new skills that will be legal this year. And when we get to those, I'll explain the rule. One thing I want y'all to understand though right now is they will only be legal for ACA rules. So NFHS, the rule change for stunts, they did not do this rule. So there's going to be one difference between ACA and NFHS. Just like last year, ACA you could do one arm suspended rolls, and NFHS did not vote that. So NFHS basically wanted to see what would happen. So ACA does it for a year, tells them everything's fine, they voted through. So like this year, you can do one arm suspended rolls for your state championships, but you're not going to be able to do a couple of these releases, including basically the one everybody's going to be fixated on is you can now do a freestanding high to high. TikTok, okay? But we'll show you some of that in a minute. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with just regular stuff. So, oh, no, we're not filming this as an official session, so if you want to film something, I'm fine with that, okay? Just tell me when you're filming, because I usually like to use this side. So I guess I'll get over here. All right, Steve, I told you I'm the funny one. All right, here we go. So first of all, let's just do double base extension. Okay, so again, I'm real big about progressions. I think progressions are extremely important. So when I start working with any group, go ahead and come down, any stunt class, I like to go through these stunts first to get everybody on the same page, because if you clean up these, it cleans up so many of your other stunts that are considered harder. If you rush through progressions and you get to the hard stuff, if you're carrying any little bad habits, it simply makes it harder to learn them. So if you take a little bit of extra time at the front end, it makes the harder skills much easier to learn, or even the more visual skills. Like inversions are not super hard, but if you don't have good technique, inversions can be difficult, all right? So on this double basic extension, wait, hop up here again. The main thing I'm going to be looking for, first of all, and that you all would look for, is just do the hang drill for me, is that you've got to make sure your top can control her own weight through her arms, and also her core by being able to hold her legs up. From here, take the hands. They can go straight to extension from here. They don't even need the jump because she's making herself light in the hands by putting her weight through the trunk of the body. Okay? And that's key and so important for basket tosses, single base stunting, inversions, is that she has to be able to control her body weight through her arms. So that's why I like to do hang drills. That's something you should always do. Test your tops, make sure they can hold themselves, protect themselves. Okay? Bases on this, main thing I'm looking for here is I want them in a good comfortable position and I want them to use their legs. This is the strongest part for a girl, is the lower body. So don't be slingshotting or don't have them stand up and then finish with their low back. That's not good. It's also harder on them. They don't generate as much speed. Okay, so we'll do it one more time. So again, they're getting a good comfortable position here. Back spot's gonna come in, she's gonna help load in. She's on the ankles to help pull the feet in. All right, now you can come up here, you can be right together. Go ahead and bind it just a little bit. Come out just a little bit apart, there. Or that's fine too as well. Once you start getting out too wide, that's when it becomes harder for the bases. Go ahead and break it down. Okay, now we're gonna go to, so any questions on that? All right, so now we're gonna go ground up liberty. Now, when they go to do this ground up liberty, I want you to watch the base's shoulders in particular. Watch what happens when they go up to it. Go ahead. They're going to drive up through, and they continue driving up. They don't hit and then relax. All right, come on down. And you'll see that, you'll know if they're doing that, because if they relax their shoulders, their hips will automatically go out of line almost immediately. So if you ever have stunts, especially one-legged stunts, and they go up and then come back down, and you're like going, it looks so good going up. What is wrong? Look at two things. Look at their shoulders, and then the other thing is, go ahead and do it one more time. Look at their shoulders and see if they're driving through. And then the other thing is, look how close they are together. Y'all widen down a little bit. If they start, see how this gets much harder on them from back underneath. That's much easier for them to hold the weight. Okay, so come on down. So if you have one-legged stunts that seem to be coming off the ground great, but then they don't stay up, they get up and they start getting shaky, or they come back down, look at those two things. More than likely, it's one of those two things that will clean up all of that for you. The last thing, go ahead and go to heel stretch. Or actually, I'm sorry, do liberty one more time. Last thing on the top. Same logic for her, I want her to apply here. She's lifting up continually. Even though it's stopped, they're lifting their shoulders, she's still lifting up as if she's trying to go higher. That keeps her midsection and core tight. Come on down. Even when they drop her, notice she didn't drop her shoulders. Her shoulders are still lifting even when they're lowering her. They're giving resistance even when they lower her. They don't just relax and bring it down like that. Everything's always giving resistance and trying to keep it up or slow it down. Okay, any questions on those? Go to heel stretch. Yeah, whichever way. Next body position we're going to do is the heel stretch. On this one, obviously you want to make sure they have good liberties first. But on the heel stretch here, go ahead and come on down. Notice how they bring this down. She'll snap to here, then they lower it. On the heel stretch, the main thing you're looking for is your top's going to pull slightly across because they're bringing this leg up. So you need the center. You need to make sure you have this leg as the new center. Whereas when they're like two, here's the center. When they pull the heel stretch, it shifts to here. So you got to put a little bit of weight across, not a lot, but a little bit pull here. Also, you got to make sure that they have good enough flexibility. What you don't want is to have to reach and grab here, because again, now they're reaching, which has them falling towards the front or towards that side. Okay? Any questions on that? For the bases, all of this technique is the same. Okay? One other thing, go ahead and do the way you do walking. Stop. I want to show you one thing here real quick, and there's a couple ways y'all can do this, and I'll tell you why we teach it this way. Okay, and stop. All right, see their grip here? Can everybody see this? Kind of turn this way, turn that way, do a circle. Come on down. All right, so this is the reason we teach it this way. You all just come out. You don't need the top. So, people ask all the time, they're like, you know, what grip do y'all use, etc. I want all of the power under my top. Okay? So that's why when they come in, she's gonna grab the wrist, the other hand comes middle, toe and heel, and then as they drive it up, her hand simply turns and rotates here. So here's all the strength is under the shoe. None of it is on top of the shoe. The back spot is the one that will control the ankle. Because the other technique that some people use sometimes is they'll reach over top. The reason they say they do that is because the top feels like it controls their ankle. Totally makes sense. But you've now taken power and put it above instead of underneath. So we let the back spot control the ankle to make it feel tight for them. Then I put all the strength underneath. Okay? So if I was working with a group and they were doing really good ground up liberties and they were using that grip, I wouldn't change it. But if I'm teaching somebody, we tend to use that grip first. So that's the reason why, is I just want all the strength under the shoe. Okay? The other thing too that can sometimes be a problem, if both of your bases are the same height, go ahead and fully extend. If she was doing this, see how a lot of times they'll have to go up on their toe, which takes her out of position, and then if you're like this, you're actually pulling down if the height is exactly the same. She would have to be a whole lot taller so that she wasn't adding weight to it. Does that make sense? That's another reason we just leave them all underneath, okay? Any questions on that? All right, last one we're gonna show you, and then we'll move into some single base stuff with air vest, and first time break it down. So on the air vest, you can start facing sideways. It's a side stunt, so most of the time you'll do it that way. They're just gonna walk in, they'll turn as it goes up. Okay, from this dismount, again, just like the heel stretch, she'll snap back into a good body position, then they just bump it back down. Okay? Main thing on the Arabesque, can you just do it here on the floor for me? Main thing on the Arabesque is you need to have a top person who is flexible and strong enough to be able to pull this without dropping her shoulders into a T. Okay? Because you want this to stand up here. The other thing is, especially on Arabesque, the top is going to toe. She just naturally will. Your bases need to realize that and make sure that they know they're going to have to really resist against the toe, because she's going to go on her toe for an Arabesque, just by the body position. Okay? Those are the two main things you would look for there. All right? Any questions on that? So we're going to show you. We're going to go ahead and show you a dismount. It's technically an inversion, but I'm going to go ahead and show it since we're already doing Arabesque. So we'll show you another way to dismount out of this. It's called a waterfall. Okay, so on this one, now, it's not hard, but I'm going to use the word scary for one reason. Here's the main thing. Go ahead and get in the low position. Now stand up, stand up. Now, go ahead and go to here. Yeah, this is how you want to practice this initially. Because I want to place all the arms so they know where it is. Now go and just roll out. All right, so now you can just roll it out from here. So that's how I would teach somebody to do this. The reason being, the one thing that you don't want to happen, which occasionally will, is the top, as they lower, your bases are supposed to put their arms up here. The top will see that and they'll reach out around them. If they do that, they now can't protect her. They don't have her arm weight here. Her weight is outside there, and it just goes straight to the ground. She has nothing that's going to hold her. So that's why I like to place it here so she knows I need to be shoulder to shoulder. Now, it's not actually shoulder to shoulder, it's an exaggeration. That's what I want her to think. I want her to think, I'm going to roll my shoulders on their shoulders. That way she doesn't reach out over the top of the arms. Does that make sense? That's the one thing you got to be careful about. So we'll do it one more time. The other thing you'll notice is that she's going to hold that Arabesque when they lower it for a few seconds anyway. So it's Arabesque, 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 and then she rolls, she'll feel that timing. When that foot gets right in here, it's about the time she'll just naturally feel it's time to roll. We don't want her to start rolling when it's way up there. It's too far away. We want it to get down here a little bit closer, then it's much easier for them to get that shoulder to shoulder feel. Okay? Any questions on that? Again, it's a cool visual, it's not hard, but you want to be real careful about where those arms are. Okay? Any questions? Yes. Yes. Will you turn? Yeah. be up here, shoulder to shoulder roll, that way it can stand back. Okay? Okay. Anything else? Awesome. All right, so let's go to. Oh, that's right. That's what I was trying to remember where I was. Okay, so now we're going to go with single base stunts. Okay, so no, not right this second. Okay, I'm now just talking to myself in my head. Really weird. All right, so basically with single base stunts, we've removed power. Okay, because we've taken away a person. So we have to set up the technique to try to give as much power as possible. And the main thing, the way we do walk-ins and do the stunts off the ground is you have to help this top person get her hips over top her feet. Because when she first lines up, her hips are back here. So we always set it this way, walking in and just stop, just tap, you don't have to go there. So when we walk it in here, she's on the ankle and she's on the hip. She's going to apply the power back there, where it used to be the third person. Okay, so she's going to apply the power there. She's got one hand here, and then as they usually just do it. And so it dips, and then as it goes up, we tend to teach it this way. She steps in underneath. She steps to the back as the spotter. Notice how she's tall enough that she stays on the ankle. If she's shorter, or if they're the same height, she can be here as well. Where she can't be is here. That's illegal. If you're a spotter, you cannot be under the shoe. Not even one hand. In All-Star, they allow one hand. I think they still do. But in school-based rules, you cannot be under the shoe at all. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Okay, now they're going to do just a basic dismount on this one. Okay, so most important here, again, you've removed some of that power, but you've got to be fast off the ground. So they need to be fast and they need to be aggressive while still staying in a good straight line. If they try to be too careful and go slow so that they can really see where it is, right about here, it'll become very heavy for them because they're only using their arms and they've lost all the momentum that they had coming off the ground, and it gets stuck here. That's why it has to be super fast off the ground. Speed, that's what gets all these stunts up. Okay? Now for the dismount, alright, so for the basic dismount, all she did was they dipped, she simply turns over her left shoulder, this hand stays on the shoe, she lowers it, she grabs the waist, top person grabs the wrist and pushes down against them, making herself as light as possible, and then she's usually, for most of them, they'll hook around the hamstring with the other arm to help give resistance. When you're dismounting this, the one thing you need to be careful about is the top person needs to keep all of her weight in that hand. Not put any weight here, because there is a slight risk of she can hurt her knee if she comes down too hard. So we want her to keep her weight in here so they can lower it. Okay? Let's do it once. So we'll do it sideways. Okay, just like that. Any questions on that one? Okay. So we're gonna do one more dismount. This dismount is gonna have a spin in it. It's kind of like a double bass rewind, except they're not gonna change. They're not gonna use that grip. Okay, so again, go up to the extension, fast off the ground. Now she's gonna turn the other way. Top person's gonna spin. So now you get the visual of a full down. Okay? So on the first one, the basic one, she's up here. All she does is just turn and drops. On this one, she's going to go the other way, release. She stays on the shoe, and she also has to, so it's like she turns a half, she does the other half. That's basically what it is. Okay? So we'll show it to you one more time. Do you want to see it facing the front or side? We can just do it. This has to be really quick too. Like she has to be real quick. Fast. Okay, good. Any questions on that? Okay, we're gonna go, you seem to be in a good group. We're gonna actually show you Liberty. They're gonna show you, I'm not. I'll talk about it. I want you to notice when they go to do the Liberty. Now, single base stunts, single leg are hard. But I want you to watch how quick her hand is going under the shoe. And she doesn't come across and grab here. She turns palm up so that she comes under the toe. A lot of times they reach straight across and they grab like this. Well, again, the majority of the power is above the shoe and only the thumb is below it. I want to turn the palm up and put the whole hand under it, okay? Because they're gonna toe on this one as well. And the dismounts, it's just the exact same technique, okay? So you want to be quick with that hand and get under there and as much as possible, get as much of your hand under the toe as opposed to, because a lot of times they'll just reach straight across and grab the first thing they touch, okay? So that's the one thing you're going to look at with that. Any questions on that one? Yes, the loading technique is exactly the same. That's basically for all single base stuff. We use that. I basically use that load technique for all of it. I think it's the easiest one. It builds up the most speed off the ground.
So it's what's it called? It's like the same load in, but how do you use that power to get to one? Like, what would you do? I guess, can I see one more time just so I can see what she does with her hands, like to get adjusted from 2 feet to 1 foot?
It's the same as if she was going to 2 feet as well.
Yeah.
She's going to stay under that one shoe the whole time
And then
anyway.
just use her
And
other hand to grab that?
this trick is successful because of what happens down here.
Okay.
If you come off the ground fast and you build up enough momentum, it will be light here. If you don't, it usually gets stuck about right here. Because
That was, I guess, my question on where she holds her hand, so I just saw when she did it.
it's going to be right in here, so you'll start
Yeah.
changing it. It's just kind of the feel of their timing and the speed of the trick. As she turns, she'll just roll it naturally. But you can do it one more time.
Thank you.
Yeah, as she starts turning under, she'll just go towards that toe.
I wasn't sure when she put her second hand under.
As quick as possible, though. You
Okay.
you want it under there as quick as possible because you want to utilize both hands for power. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But it's more about, it just flows naturally. There'll be a natural, as it turns, it just rolls underneath it. Whatever they're comfortable with. The question was single base switch ups. It's whatever they're comfortable with because regardless, they're going to be leaving that shoe anyway. But I would want as much power under there from a speed standpoint. But you can play with both of them. I don't think it matters more though. Whatever they're comfortable with. Okay. Anything else? Oh, is that all? All right, cool. Let's do the ball. Okay, so we're going to switch gears for a second. If you were in the pyramid class earlier, I was talking about Bahas and reverse Bahas. I told you that there's lead-up skills for those pyramid visuals that are actually stunts. I'm going to show those to you. They're going to show those to you right now. Again, they're not super hard, but there's technique to them that makes them work well. The first one is the basic Baha. Okay, what I want you to notice, go ahead and just do it. What I want you to notice is, see, she reaches straight down here. She's going to go forward. Okay, she shoots her hips up through, goes into the cradle. Okay, so that's like that that brace flip pyramid where the one brace was in the back and the other was on the side. This is the lead-up skill for it. That's basically what they were doing in a pyramid visual. Okay, so again, she reaches down here and for a window in the time. Turn side. Okay, so they shake hands here. Now she's going to try to drive this up and get her as high as possible so that there's a big room there for her to shoot through. Okay, so she tries to take it up as high as possible. Okay, everybody good with that? You can also reverse it and go the other way. There's a few different ways to do it. We're going to show you how to flat back. You can get into this flat back however you want. They're just going to pick her up for now. Now, remember on the pyramid we said when you go backwards you have to change your grip until the top. That's the same thing she did here, and then they pop through. Okay? So again, just like that pyramid, this is the lead-up skill for it. That's that harder pyramid where we had to have the toe pitch on the front. All right? Lay on the ground for me. When you're doing this one, it's always best if the top puts her feet up here. Okay? If she's, go ahead and flatten out. If she's like this, it forces the bases to center around her hips, and then you go back and legs. Well, I want them to be up here on the upper body for more power. So you bring that weight, you put it up over top of the trunk of the body, and now the bases can be on the hip and the shoulders to drive the hip. So that's why we usually put them in this position. And depending on the length of her legs, she may have to ball up, or the length of their arms, etc. That's just something you'll have to play with as you're setting stunt routes. So we'll do it one more time. Okay, so she reaches over across here. They're going to drive her up and then get those hips rotating. And then she puts her weight. See how she's basically using her as their shoulders if it was a regular load in. She's going to really put her weight through here to help stand up. And from that position, if she's controlling her weight, you don't even have to switch to the shoulders. They could go straight up to a stunt out of that by pushing off of here, because she's giving all the resistance. Okay? So you don't even have to release and grab here. You could pump and go straight up if she's controlling her weight through her arms. Okay? So hopefully that'll help you guys with some of the pyramid visuals we showed earlier. These are the lead-up skills to practice those. All right? Any questions on that? Two little Bajas. Nope? Awesome. Let's go. All right. So now we're going to do some inversions. We're going to show you a real... We're going to show you a basic one here first. So this is a handstand on a double base thigh stand. Now, yeah, just a handstand step in. So you can use this as a trick, but it's also a teaching tool to get them ready for actually doing it at shoulder level. You come down, and all they're going to do is step back down. The main thing when you start doing inversions, the way she loads in is their job when you get set up. Their job is basically, one hand is probably always going to be somewhere on the shoulders to help lift up, and one hand will be helping to balance. Sometimes she's balancing by being on the belly, sometimes they're on the back, depending on how they load it, which direction they're going to go off the dismount, etc. But one hand shoulders, the other hand helps balance. She's doing it helping balance the entire time, and that's how we use them for all the inversions, especially when you get to shoulder level. We'll show those in a second. Okay? So, all right. So as easy as this is, in a progression world, you would think, okay, if we're going to do releases out of inversions, we probably need to do the low-level ones first. This is actually one of the hardest skills, but we're going to show it to you. And the reason it's hard is because if you're at shoulder level with an inversion, you have your entire powers all underneath, right? Trunk, legs, everything. Well, when they get inverted here, all that's under her is the arm. So you really got to have some strength and timing to get her high enough. But we're going to go invert on double base thigh stands to a thigh stand. I think this is the funniest trick. Pop it high. Now, on this one, when the back spot gets ready to transition, you probably want her to slide just a little bit so the feet can pass through, because again, it's not going to go nearly as high as off the shoulders. Okay? Going to be underneath here. They drive up through here as much as possible. They help balance here, and she's going to try to pull up some as well. Your top just has to get used to trying to ride as high as she possibly can with this little pop as she's getting, and then pike down to the thigh stand. Okay, we'll do it one more time. Good. Okay? So that's the thigh stand. Any questions on that? So the thigh stand is a lead-up skill. That's one of the first ways you'll practice it. All right? Now we're going to show you a couple releases and a little bit more movement in these inversions. Let's do the push-up. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead to, this is a pretty hard one. This is going to be a release off of an inversion off the ground. Now, you can get into this however you want. They're just stepping up into it for now. Drop and flip. Okay. Now, the main thing you're going to notice on this, when you get ready to do this trick, especially if you're doing it out of a flat back, watch what their hands do when they do that bounce, because they'll be in the flat back. They will give a bounce, and when they bounce, they pull this hand out, and it goes onto the shoulders. When they tap, that's what allows them to be on the shoulders and drive through. If they don't ever bring their hand out and change the grip, you don't get nearly the drive. And actually, you're pushing against the top. She can't even pull back through because you're actually on her chest. Okay, so watch their grip change. The back spot, she's staying back at the ankles and feet. You can turn them to the side if you're more comfortable. But what she's trying to do is she's trying to support the lower body weight and then also get the heels going up. And for your top, I always tell her the same thing. When she's doing this, I want her to be looking, I'm going to try to stand up there. That's where I want to stand up. That way she'll pull her shoulders up over top and center herself here as opposed to getting stuck back here. Okay? So we'll do it one more time. Switch the grip, speed.
Good.
Okay? Any questions on that one? So that's been legal for a couple of years that way. Yeah, do it sideways. And which way? Oh, you're straight. This way you can see the back spot. So she's on the ankles back there. Again, she could be to the side if she wanted, but she's going to pop those. See how she pops? She lifts those feet. It helps get this going through here. Okay? And she could be on the side if she wanted. People line up differently from that standpoint, whatever they're comfortable with. Any questions? Anything else on that one? So we'll do shoulders. Yeah. We'll go ahead and compress it. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to go to shoulders. We're going to show you a couple ways to get into the shoulders, and we're also going to show you some releases out of it. This is the basic way I would get into an inversion. Okay, we'll break it down in a second. And then on the inversions now, you can release. You can go to load, you can go to prep, you can go to 1 foot on the ground. Okay, so that was a release to load. See how much easier the releases are from here as opposed to thigh stamps because they have all this power now to drive. Okay, so I'll mention the basics now. So basically what they did is they just jumped into a load position, they take their outside hands and go to the shoulders, then they just drive up. Top person's gonna ride that momentum up and try to get as tall as possible. This is not an inverted stunt. This is almost a flat back. We want to be as tall as possible because technique-wise it's better. The weight's easier to control. It's not sitting out here, it's sitting here. But also the trick just looks nicer, especially if you release it. Especially if you release it and you go forward. Then it looks a lot nicer. Okay? Let's go ahead and do one more. Let's do it. So now we're going to once you get the release and it's going to load really well, you can now release to prep. Okay? Same technique, just better timing and more push. Okay? But the technique is all that is the exact same. Okay? Now, when you start trying those, the one thing you need to have your top people, you need to continually, we'll tell them, keep your feet together. Like, that's how they should think to stand, and then they'll more than likely get caught about here. If they think shoulder width, they'll land about like this, and now they're making it really hard on their bases to hold the stunts. Okay, because now instead of thinking about lifting, they're also having to push in as well. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to show you another way to get into the shoulders. I like this version a lot. It's fast. You don't expect it. That was fast. Okay, come on down. Okay, so on this one, basically they're going to get down in a good comfortable position. They go ahead and put the hand on the shoulders, and then they're going to be around, somewhere in here to help get the hips moving. But the main power is going to come from the back, who starts out on the ankles, kind of like a pick up the post, and she's going to drive up and then drive them off. Now, depending on the length of the body, how much power they're getting, these bases can also, instead of just standing in here, they can do what's called a J up. They can come underneath it and J it up. They don't have to on this because she's getting plenty of power off the back. Okay, so turn sideways. So she pushes through there and just stands it up. Boom. Okay? Any questions on that one? And then one other quick version, going back to that original loading position, except it's going to be a pump and go continuous. So the loading part is exactly the same, just like you would load for a double base extension, but instead of stopping and changing the grip, they catch the grip as they go to it. Okay? So did everybody see that? Instead of both hands under the shoe, as soon as she jumped in, they went shoe and ankle, shoulder immediately and went straight to it, so it's a little bit faster. Okay? I like both versions of those. I think I like both visuals. Any questions on that or any of those you need to see again inverted wise? Is that all? Nope, everybody good on that? Awesome. What's next? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. There is one more inversion. All right, we're going to show you another dismount. Earlier we did that waterfall. We can also do cartwheel dismount. So this is another type of inversion. So first we're going to show you just from a low. Then we're going to show you how to teach it, and then we'll show you the hardest version from a practice. So go ahead and do the low first. Good. Okay? Does everybody see that? So, here's what you're going to do though. When you go to teach it, go ahead and get set up again. Now you're going to do the So I'm just going to kind of have her fall into it this time. So we're not going to go up high or anything. Go ahead. We're just going to go like this so that she can get used to seeing what it looks like. Where do her hands go? The bases can get used to how they're going to control the waist. And it goes nice and slow. Okay? You'll notice there was no lift or anything like that. You get to that once you know they're smooth. Now, with the grips over here, so you've got one base here, and basically she's going to be face to face with your top person. As they come through, she's going to be on the waist, and then she just rolls it right through here. The top, though, needs to protect herself, and she does that by, she actually wraps here around the trunk of her body. The thing you have to emphasize to your top, though, is, because what they will do is they will reach, and they'll think this. Well, now they're stuck. They can't really grab anything. They need to make sure they have in their head, I reach across her body so that this arm goes on that side, and actually the arm here ends up over here once she's upside down. Can you see that? You really have to emphasize that to your top, so they will have a tendency to just grab the side here with this hand, and then they're stuck. There's no other place for this arm to go. Okay? So go ahead and do the load again. Your back spot, when you use one of the back spot, she's basically on the waist as well, helps give support going through. The other thing to notice on this is whichever way she cartwheels, that base will open up their shoulders. So instead of her cartwheeling over top of herself, she opens up to let it pass through. So she's going that way, so she'd be the only one to do it. If she was going this way, she would be the one that did it. Okay, just go ahead one more time. From the low. No, the regular. Okay, so now they go up. See how she opens up? She opens up her shoulders here. That allows her to go through. Okay? Any questions on that? Now that can be a little unnerving. Your tops can get a little nervous about this one, so that psychological readiness has to come into play. She may be tiny and small and talented, but if that makes her nervous, she will be tentative and she'll end up falling through instead of being aggressive and protecting herself. So you got to be careful on who you choose to use this trick. Now, once you have that one, you can also go for prep. This one can really make them nervous because this one's going to be much higher drop. Okay? So, technique-wise, everything's the same. But see, now it's going to be starting from a higher point. They drive it up, but all the technique is the same. She still opens up to let it go through. But it is a little bit higher, and it can make them a little bit more nervous. Yes? Go ahead and get set up. So you're wanting, you can be right here. Okay, you can be right here. I'm sorry, I forgot where the question was coming from. You can be right here. Also, though, you can be right in here. Okay? Now you don't want to get in their way, but at the same time, if you see that it looks like it's going to miss or her arms are off and you know that she's not going to get a good grab, you can hear you're in a position to catch one of her shoulders. And if nothing else, your job would not be to catch her, but it would be to slow her to the ground and keep her in a good line. Okay? So you can, and basically what Steve could do is he can start here, and then as it goes, you'll notice he follows it through. Okay? But this is a tricky one to spot because, first of all, sometimes, like I said, they get nervous, but also you can get in their way really quickly on this. And if you get in their way, it actually minimizes what they can do to execute the trick. So you gotta have that fine line between I need to be in there, but I need to stay out of the way so they can do the trick. Okay? Any other questions? Yes? Thank you. I'll try. I haven't done the cartwheel part yet, but So like you can see Steve is right in that window, and then he'll follow it across as it moves through. Okay? Yeah, you need both girls for that to be legal. Now, you can do it different ways. Go ahead and get set up. You can do it this way. We're not going to demonstrate it because they didn't practice one. But instead of these two, she can step out, and when it goes, she slides across. So she can start here, and then it's just like Steve was following it. She basically follows it because she's mainly focused on her anyway. That's who she's making contact with. So she can follow across the back. You can even have it where she actually turns, and instead they take this hand, they actually reach through here on her and roll out. You don't even need one here, but that's a little weight down there.
We did it. We rolled onto one person like it was.
That's legal across the board. The only change in FHF is going to be this one skill I show you. Okay. Any other questions on that?
Which almost feels safer because you're like, instead of like,
let's go to
lower.
the releases. Oh, it is. All right, so we're going to Great. All right, so what are we doing next? Thank you. Releases. All right, so this is where this new rule is going to come into play too. We're going to show you a couple tricks here. First of all, we're going to do, what did y'all do? Switch up? All right, let's do it. All right, so first we're going to show you some that have been legal. This is the first one. This is a switch up. This is a fast one. It's all about replacing the foot. Nice. So, for your top person, the main thing about this is she doesn't want to try to put her foot where she thinks they are. She simply wants to replace where that foot is. Let them find it because they're the ones who can see it. But a lot of times tops will try to place it and then they end up doing all kinds of stuff and they kick out and all that. Okay? Like you said, it was real smooth. That's because all she did, she just knew where that foot was. I'm going to put the other foot there. Let them find it. Okay? For your bases on any of these TikToks, low to high, high to high, the main thing I want them to do is during that release part, leave their hands wide open. I know it sounds so simple, but a lot of times it ends up like this, and sometimes they catch it on their fist. Leave their hands wide open to give them as much space as possible to grab the shoe. Because you're never going to get a perfect grip. Okay? So you've got to be able to get as much of a grip as possible. The top needs to realize that, stay tight through the core, lifting, all of that kind of stuff we've talked about with earlier tricks. Okay, do it one time. You can also, you don't have to do this, I'm just talking while you're doing it. You can also switch these up to stretches, arabesque, you can quarter turn it, that kind of stuff as well. Okay, any questions on the switch up? So that's the basic switch up. Again, you can go to other body positions as well. Everybody good on that? Awesome. Sure. Mine. Again, stay tight. Let them work on what's going on underneath. Could you see that? She didn't get her one hand got away from her a little bit, but because she stays tight and the rest of them had grip, everything's fine. Okay. And then also on this, usually you start with the opposite leg so that you can land on the normal leg. Okay, so you'll start on an opposite one. This next one is going to be the same thing. They're going to do a low to high TikTok. So you'll see them take them up in an opposite lib, drop, and then land in the regular lib. Okay? Low to high. So on this one, notice they're going to go high, drop it down, switch at the top, towards the top. But remember earlier we were talking about giving resistance. We don't drop anything. They're pushing against it as they lower it. That's why things like this become easier to learn if you learned that kind of skill at the easier stunts. Okay? Because if they did not learn that, when they dropped to here, they would have a tendency to drop it faster. So now they get stuck here. Instead, they want to be able to drop it where it's like right here and it's all ready to spring and drive right back up. Okay? As far as the actual switch, the TikTok, it's the same logic as the switch up. All I want my top to do is replace the foot, let the bases find it. Okay? And even when you, especially when you're first teaching these, when you first teach your tops, they'll have a tendency maybe to cheat and start down here. That's fine. As they get used to it, you want them to hold the stunt so visually it's better, it's in a better line. But sometimes they'll have a tendency to cheat it a little bit as they're learning it. That's okay. That's part of the learning process. Okay? Any questions on that one, the low to high? Nope. Anybody need to see it again? Good? One more time. She's the one more time lady down there. Okay, so it goes up nice and high so they get underneath it, nice and slow, switch at the top, towards the top. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, so now we're going to show you, let's do the half. No. Okay, is that you on?